remember last week when we were having this conversation, and you asked me later why you couldn't hear me? I got muted. I was a victim of an executive decision, because things being what they are, you never know. So, but I think we got that sorted out, and I don't think I'm muted this week. A lot of people want me muted, but I don't think we are. So, okay, cool. So yes, and yes, we are an essential service. So that's why I'm still in the office. All right, bye. Boy, the only thing constant is change. You've heard that cliche before? Well, that's true. Remember the whole soap opera thing? Like if you're watching a soap opera, you could tune in every week or week and a half or whatever, and you'd be able to catch up and you'd know exactly what was going on. Not so with the world we're living in. You got to keep up to speed every single day, and that's why we're here. Doing Niagara 411 live, by the way. Welcome to Season 2, Episode 2. I'm Lee Sterry. We have power of WeeStreem behind the camera that you're seeing following me down the street right now. We are fueled by Gales Gas Bars Limited. Thank you to them. We are hosted here in the window of Fiddler's Poorhouse. We have a bunch of things to talk about. Yes, COVID is one of them, and some other stuff going on. A really creative theft happened in Niagara, and we're going to talk to the people that got stolen from a little later in the program, and other things. Come on in. All right, so as you can see, Fiddler's Poorhouse is empty, except for us, and that's because they have to be empty, and that sucks, but it is what it is. And talking to Dave McParian earlier from Fiddlers, and asked him how they're doing, how things are going, and he says, well, we're hanging in there. We're doing, I don't know, maybe okay is pushing it, but he said, quotes, sorry for the air quotes, but we're hanging in there. And I suppose that is probably the mantra that a lot of businesses and even the public at large, you and me as well, are hanging in there. And maybe that's all we can expect these days, is just to hang in there. If you're hanging in there and feeling okay about it, great. If you're hanging in there and just hanging in there by a thread, not so great. And if you want somebody to talk to and share those feelings with or experiences with, by all means, that's us, and we'll tell you how you can do that in a bit. And we would like to offer that little bit of mental respite, if it were, as somebody to reach out to, as a place to go to just have a chat and get some things off your chest that might be sitting there and percolating and not keeping you too healthy in one way or the other. So we'll talk more about that, but I just want you to know. I'm not Dr. Phil, I'm not Dr. Lee, I'm not Dr. anybody, but if it does you some good to open up and share your experiences and thoughts and feelings and that kind of thing, we're here for the next hour and a half for you to do that. We don't have a jam-packed lineup of guests, so we're going to have a number of opportunities for you to come in here and have a chat with us, and we'd really welcome it, because we're always looking for perspectives of things that are happening with people in Niagara, and that's what we're doing today as well. All right, so we do have an interesting guest coming up. One of the things that caught our eye and yours on Niagara 411 this week was the fact that a massive shed. You're familiar with Amish sheds, those beautiful wooden sheds that are becoming more and more popular. Well, there is a company operating out of Ridgeway called Amish Sheds, and there was one of their sheds sitting at a location on Montrose Road near Bigger in Niagara Falls. Now, these are pretty substantial buildings. We're not talking like one of these aluminum type things that 1.5 guys could sort of pick up and throw over the neighbor's fence. We're talking significant buildings. So And one of these was stolen. It wasn't already on a trailer. It was sitting in a lot on a property, and it was stolen this past week. I think the 11th, 10th or 11th of January, Sunday, Monday. There it is. That's right there. Or one like it. And which means that somebody would have had to have a crew of guys, the proper equipment, a flatbed trailer, a truck that would do the hauling, and the time to steal this thing. Well, we have one of the family members. It's a family business, Amish Sheds, operating out of Ridgeway, and we'll have Rachel, one of the family members.
Just for clarity, Lee, it's Amish1 Sheds.
Well, I just want
to say there's a few of them out of there. It's the one that's Amish and then the number 1. And that's how you can find them on the web.
That's on the website.
Yeah.
The company is called Amish Sheds.
Oh, right? Is it? All right, I stand corrected.
No, you sit corrected. No.
Is this how the show's going to start, Lee?
No, this is it. Okay, no. I could be entirely wrong because you're the one that gave me the Amish1 Sheds.com, yeah. So, anyway, at 12:30 today, Rachel will solve our dilemma and also tell us the story and answer some other questions about Amish Sheds, because actually I was thinking of buying one. Because the guy in the neighborhood where I live has one. I think that's pretty cool. But anyway, so Rachel's coming up at 12:30. Just one of the stranger. We do stories all the time here about a number of thefts that happen around Niagara. Just about anything and everything gets stolen. Bicycles and wagons and children's toys and lawnmowers and cars and snowmobiles and all sorts of things have been reported on this program and through Niagara 411 that have been stolen from very strange locations. A lot of people have a lot of nerve, I got to tell you, that do some of these things. So, but this is this is, and sorry, I don't mean to laugh because it's not funny when you have something stolen, but you can imagine an enterprise like that to take a shed from a location, and you got to have all the tools to do it. Pretty amazing. So Rachel joins us at 12:30. Now, again, we want to thank Gales Gas Bars Limited for fueling this program, sponsoring us, our title sponsor for the next 6 months at least. And all businesses, including Gales, have to think about what they're doing in regard to the COVID situation and how they adjust their business. Well, effective, that says tomorrow, but that's actually today. That post came up yesterday. Effective today, Thursday, the 14th, and in reflection of Ford's announcement of yesterday, Gales will be implementing the following changes to their site's hours of operation. While they are considered an essential service, there is simply not enough traffic to warrant all of the sites being open, nor open regular hours. In order to keep as many people employed as possible, you may see new faces, masked of course, at your regular sites. Please welcome them. We are all coping with changes being implemented extremely quickly. We're thankful to still be in the business at all and fully support the actions being taken to keep Ontarians safe and to crush COVID. To those of you who are not so lucky, please know you are in our thoughts and prayers. We'll get through this and be stronger community because of it. All right, so here is the current state of affairs with regard to the locations for Gales Gas Bars. There are 3 that will be closed as of today. Drummond Road, Niagara Falls, Bridge Street, Niagara Falls, Ontario Street. Now that says Niagara Falls, that is a typo. That should say Ontario Street, St. Catharines. Okay, just so you know. So we've got 2 in the Falls, Drummond Road, Bridge Street, Ontario Street, and St. Catharines that will not be operating until further notice. So now there are sites still open 24 hours. Collier Road, that's right near the Welland or the Thorold Tunnel. Collier Road in Thorold, St. Paul West, St. Catharines, Portage Road, Niagara Falls in the Chippewa region, and Thorold Stone Road at Montrose. 24-hour operations. And then the full-service ones, Gilmore Road, Fort Erie, Portage Road, Niagara Falls, Lundy's Lane, Niagara Falls, York Road, Welland Avenue, Thorold Stone Road. And the self-serves that operate are at the bottom there, Kev, if you want to scroll down for me just a little bit.
Eric, can you read those? 261 Martindale
Yep.
Road in St. Catharines
And Niagara Stone Road, Niagara.
Yeah,
Lake.
1487 Niagara Stone Road, Niagara-on-the-Lake.
Yeah. All right. So, and that is just sort of a screenshot of Gales Gas Bar's website or Facebook page. So if you want to go and find out more about it, if you're wondering if the Gales near you is open, et cetera, you can go on that site. So there you go. And just to remind you that one typo is Ontario Street in St. Catharines is one of those that is closing. It says Niagara Falls, but it's St. Catharines. Okay, and again, we want to thank WeeStreem, my partners in crime with this thing, Kevin Jack, you see on the screen as well in the background there. And also, we were talking about this earlier, and Kevin came up with an interesting phrase. And in these days of uncertain times and uncertain businesses, especially if you're entrepreneurial, as the WeeStreem people are, is you have to, what was the line, Kevin? You have to be okay, you have to be comfortable with failure, or you have to be able to accept failure.
Accept defeat.
Accept defeat.
I've accepted
Not
defeat.
failure, defeat, yeah.
I've accepted defeat, and I've kind of reached the breaking point. And that's the direction I've decided to go, is just to accept defeat. Any other road that I decide to take will drive me down a pit of despair and depression. Interested to know what other people in Niagara are feeling today, as this morning we went into a state of emergency with a full stay-at-home order. How you feel that every time you leave your house, you could be questioned whether or not what you're doing is essential.
Yeah.
I've been rolling with the punches, Lee, but I've reached a bit of a breaking point, and to cope with it, I have to accept defeat. And I'd love to hear from other people in Niagara as to how you're feeling today, what your outlook is for the next 4 weeks, what your outlook is for the next 4 weeks and beyond. I've got a 5 and a 7-year-old at home, so kindergarten and grade 2. When I'm at home and they're online learning, by the way, the school board and the teachers are doing a fantastic job. When I'm at home, I cannot get anything else done. I must 100% dedicate myself to be at the ready for them whenever they need it, and they being the teachers and they being my children. I cannot run a business like this. Luckily, there are some subsidies available, but I have to accept defeat. If I don't, I will go crazy. And I'm interested to hear what other people feel today. And Lee, as you mentioned, we have time on the show for that.
Yeah.
Rachel from Amish1 Sheds will be joining us at 12:30. So we've got some time.
Yeah, and that disturbs me because you, I've known you for a number of years now, probably since about 2014 or so, and that's a fairly that's long enough to kind of get a sense of the person, and you have always, to me, seemed very, very confident, very, very comfortable in your own skin. Obviously opinionated, or you wouldn't have been in the business you were in at the time, which was talk radio. And that's what you're supposed to be. And for someone of that strength of character to feel that you have to adjust the way you think about things in order to survive mentally and emotionally is a big deal. And I know you'll be fine because you are intellectual enough that you can think your way through this stuff. But there are many, many people out there that are not so equipped.
Yeah. Lee, we've got Jared here who's joined the conversation. I want to get him in just a second. Valerie is also in the waiting room, and Valerie will get to you. Just to kind of put a bookend on my feelings, Lee.
Yeah.
I've reached the point of frustration that we have done as a society every single thing that the government has asked for us, and the only solution is to do more, and it's not working. Over the holidays, I don't know why we saw numbers spike as we did. Like, I really don't. But the solution of doing more of the same seems like the definition of insanity. Now, I don't have any other greater solutions, so that's part of the problem as well. I understand that people are surveying the world, and the best brains in the world are on this right now. Mm-hmm. It just frustrates me that the solution is do more of the same when doing the same has led us to this point. So again, and I want to open up, and we'll get Jared on here in just a second. Okay, Lee? I see you got your earpiece in there.
Yeah, I went through my calisthenics here and got it done.
I want to remind you to turn it up over there on your left, Lee.
Oh yeah, we didn't do that, did we?
Yeah, and then I'll get to Jared here.
Look at that! All this fabulous technology. See, I play the role of the uninformed and non-technical talent. You see, I'm the talking head, and Kevin does all the techno stuff. Jarrett, welcome to the program. Glad to have you on the show today.
Hey, thank you so much.
Now, where are you calling us from or joining us from today?
From the Hammer, Hamilton.
The Hammer, okay. So now you guys have really been caught in the middle of this whole thing between the smoke and Niagara and whatnot. So what's on your mind today? Jarrett, how can we help you?
I'm kind of tired of this whole lockdown thing, and I have a daughter that's in junior kindergarten, and she's doing online schooling, and it's hard for the kids too.
How does she? How does that manifest itself with her? How has it changed her behavior in any way?
We've seen it sometimes. Yeah, it affects her. She'll be like, I want to see my friends. Yeah. So in that way, like, we notice that. And she'll always want to go to the park and be like, no one was at the park for me to play with. And like, that's really what her world is now, is just going to the park. But like, even with these new restrictions, I don't know if we can even go to the park now. Well,
apparently, this is one of the things that I'll ask you as a parent of a little girl now. She's probably 5?
She's 4.
4. Okay, so when these new announcements came out, the Premier said there was absolutely no confusion, but it seemed to me there was quite a bit of confusion.
Yes, I've heard that too.
How did you feel as a parent of a young child trying to get through your day with regard to the announcements?
I just thought, oh, here we go again.
Yeah. Do you work outside the home? What's?
I work from home. My wife works outside the home.
All right. So how Kevin talked about the fact that when he's home and of course with his children, really can't get anything done. So when you say you work from home, are you actually able to work from home and be productive?
So it's hard. My wife and I, we try to figure out things for our daughter sometimes, because like, it's not really good for her to just be at home while I'm working, right? Mm-hmm. So sometimes what we'll do, if it works out, is we'll bring her to her grandma and grandpa's house. Mm-hmm.
But
I know when it doesn't work, like, it sucks because we can't do anything about it. And now it's like this new restriction. We don't really know what to do now. Like, they live down the mountain from us, so we don't know if we should risk it now either.
And I'm just going to hop in here, Jared. I'm in a similar situation, and technically, I don't think we're supposed to be bringing our children to our grandparents. If we were to follow the letter of the law, I don't think we're even supposed to be doing that. And trust me, we're doing it. We're doing it.
Apparently, in the thing, it said that kids that are not in school, there's daycare open for that. But kids in school, what do we do with those kids?
Yeah, it's tough. And I find that if I try and balance work and parenting at home, I just end up being terrible at both. So I have to prioritize, and I prioritize being a parent. And I sympathize with you. It's heartbreaking to see my kids every single day. They are in tears with online schooling, and it's not to say that nobody's trying. It's just so irregular to them, and I have to tell them it's okay to walk away from the screen. It's okay to take a 5 or 10 minute break away from your online learning just to kind of gather yourselves. And this is to a 5 and a 7-year-old.
I think a lot of parents they've been more like relaxed and really not caring. Like, they care, but they're not, like, for example, one of the things that my wife and I do, we actually on every Friday during the week, we just don't send her to school on Fridays. I think a lot more parents are just taking it relaxed because, like, I've even noticed in my daughter's class, a lot of the time, some of the kids aren't even in the class. Sometimes.
Let me ask you. Let me ask you this. When I was young, now I know we're talking back in the Jurassic period, but when I was young, I never went to kindergarten. Some of my friends did, but it wasn't something that you had to do. School actually started for my generation in grade 1, because kindergarten was nap time and cookies. I mean, really, that's what it was. Do you actually feel, with a 4-year-old girl at home, Jarrett, that you should put her and or you through the kind of stress that is online learning at a kindergarten level? Really?
Well, that's what some people really told us too. They're like, maybe you should just not even put her in.
Yeah, like, really, what's the point?
Exactly.
I kind of get it with grade 5 and 6 and 7-year-olds or grade 8s that are trying to be prepared to go into secondary school learning, etc. But even then, I wonder sometimes, and I'm not making any judgments, and parents, please come and join me and Jarrett weigh in, but I sometimes wonder if it isn't just worth taking 6 months off and enjoying your family, playing games and do whatever sort of intellectual learning you want to do around the dinner table or after supper, and take the stress of this, and it might take you an extra year or an extra 6 months or whatever it is to get through elementary school, but maybe it's worth it to put the kind of pressure behind us that people are feeling today. Is there any validity in that position, or am I just whistling Dixie here?
I'd agree. We were considering that originally.
But you're still trying to keep up.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, Jared, I really appreciate you sharing your experience with us, and hopefully it'll inspire other people to give us their points of view on that. And again, good luck. What's your daughter's name?
Anna.
Anna. Well, good luck with Anna. And
Hannah with an H.
Hannah. Yeah, that's becoming a really popular name, isn't it? Hannah.
Let's say hi, Hannah.
Did she hear her name?
Oh,
there she is.
she's precious. Hi, Hannah.
Hi, sweetie. Hi, Hannah.
Oh, she's beautiful.
She's in school right now.
Okay.
That's
All
what
right.
school
Well,
looks like at my place.
We'll leave you in school. Jarrett, thanks a lot. Have a great day.
No problem. Thank you.
You're welcome. I've been thinking that it's the first time I've actually said it out loud. Do we really, up to a certain age or below a certain age, do we really have to put ourselves and our children? Well, not me. I'm sorry. I know I'm not part of the demographic, but wow, do we really have to go through this? Wouldn't it be just easier to say, hey, we're gonna be behind, and we're just gonna have to live with it? Maybe you'll grow up to be a doctor or a lawyer 6 months later than you would have without COVID. I don't know.
Now, Lee, we've got Valerie also joining the program.
Great.
And just sending it out there to Rachel with Amish1 Sheds. I see you in there, and we are going to get to you in just a bit, okay?
Absolutely.
But here, I'll send myself off to the side here, and we can welcome Valerie onto the program.
Hi, Valerie.
Hi there, how's it going?
Great. How are you today?
I'm on my lunch, and I figured I'd just tap in when I saw it come up on a Facebook post. So
Awesome. So now, where are you calling us from?
I'm actually calling from Mini Retreat Childcare in Beamsville. I'm the owner of the licensed daycare here.
Wow. Okay. So
Yeah.
what have you got for us today? What's on your mind?
Well, I just want to say how it's very difficult to operate a childcare center during this pandemic. It's been tough for the ECEs and the assistants, as well as everybody else implicated when it comes to operating with extreme measures of cleaning and protection for these little children. Every time there's a government announcement when it comes to protecting the children for schools, we feel as though childcare has been left out in these conversations, even though we still operate under the Ministry of Education. So
Right.
been a very big struggle for a lot of us and frustrations because a lot of the stuff is not clear or we're an afterthought. And there's a lot of wage gaps, and for the childcare sector to remain open and keep the economy going, it seems like there's a failed opportunity to recognize this field, to have us as frontline workers to keep the economy going. So it's been key.
Yeah, when you say unrecognized, how do you feel that your sector should have been recognized? What would be a game changer for you?
Well, there's a lot of talk because there's a lot of different, like in the childcare sector, there's the region's childcare centers, there's the private childcare centers that are for profit and some are not for profit. There's the early years on. So there's a big different group of different kinds of childcares that are implicated in this. We feel as though when they make announcements with the schools, even though we are still operating and abiding by the rules under the Ministry of Education,
right.
When they do make the announcements with the schools saying we're hiring more custodians, we're going to make sure the ventilation is going to be better for these children, we're considering the safety of these children and the teachers and whatnot, it feels as though we should also be implicated in these things. So as myself, a small little center of 10 staff, right? But it's still at least 38 children in the one unit. My other one's still vacant right now, but that's besides the point. I have to figure out my own cleaning with my own staff and staffing 10-hour days and trying to make sure we can keep up with the extent of what's required for the safety and protocols in place for operating, right?
Yeah, you have, you called it a small operation. However, for a child care center, it seems to me 10 staff is plenty big enough from my perspective. That's still, it may seem in your field not that many to you, but to still juggle 10 staff under these conditions that we're under seems to me to be a fairly heady job. And you said you have 38 children?
So my capacity for this one unit, so I have toddler class and preschool class, and I have up to 38 in this one unit. I expanded last year with a before and after school program in another unit in this plaza complex I'm in, and I was licensed for 26. Now, when we were to reopen, they didn't have a good plan in place with the schools linked with the childcare centers with a before and after school program that would require extra protocols for safety. So I had exposure to 3 different schools coming to the center. So because of other things, like with this pandemic, it's become more personal. You want to think about your family as well, right? Mm-hmm. And I have my, my husband who's got multiple sclerosis, and I live with an in-law setup with my parents that are over 65. So now the exposure, already being in childcare and bringing this home, I made sure my son's on virtual school just so that we can try and diminish the amount of exposure coming back to the house. So I'm in the midst of converting my license to a preschool program, right? And that's still been vacant since last March, and I still can't fill it. Now, this week alone with this lockdown and stay-at-home measure order that's been in place, 5 children has pulled back their care, and now they're home, not wanting to be charged and just hold their space until things get better again. Just this week alone. So that means now we're down to 10 in one class when we were up to almost 16, even though I can put 24. And I'm down to 5 in my toddler class when I could have up to 15 in that class. You know what I mean? And people are just remaining on the wait list, and we're just waiting to see what's going on. We can still wait and stuff like that. So it's very, very difficult. I feel like I've started all over again when this is my 7th year going into, right?
Yeah, I'm not surprised that you feel that way, because it's sort of reevaluating everything that you're doing, how you do it, and the environment. So one of the things that perhaps people are hearing this conversation and asking is, how do you handle the so-called COVID restrictions? I mean, these are young children, and frankly, on some level, I'm sure there are some of us that are a little bit surprised that you're even allowed to operate. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't have been surprised if they would have said, hey, we can't have all of these families and their kids sharing airspace together, because all these kids can't be wearing masks. Or do they wear masks?
No, they're not required to wear masks.
No, I wouldn't think so.
The staff wear masks and goggles, or they could have the face shields if that's easier. I took it to the next level where we are wearing scrubs and that they are interchanged and washed on site. So they're not wearing their own clothes,
Good for
taking
you.
them home in their own vehicle.
Yeah.
So we've took that extra protocol in place for that. But we have a screener. Nobody comes in, no parents come in and stuff like that. And the hand sanitizing is just enhanced and cleaning as well. But it's very difficult and stressful on the staff. Like right now, they're concerned because the cases are higher. We are in a great place being in the Niagara region, but it's still concerning. And even if we had to shut down like we did back in March, like I know what to expect this round. Before it was scary. We didn't even know what to do and what was going to happen.
Right.
But this round, if they said that we had to shut down, I'd be for it anyways because it is for people's lives. Like I understand. It's just there's the fine gray area. Like I understand the economy has to continue, but at the same time, there are the school-age children, the parents that have at home right now that need the care because they're trying to work virtual.
Of
But
course.
at the same time, if over the holidays, this is where the mingling is happening and cases have gone up. At what point is it okay for that other sibling to still continue to come to childcare, which is providing more exposure to these centers?
Yeah.
Now, I can see more so in Toronto, and I've heard a few from the networking groups that I'm in that voluntarily decided to close because they were concerned for their safety and their staff, their mental health and everything too. So I don't know where we want to go with this, and I'm just staying on the sidelines to just see how things are going. And I thought, hey, here's an opportunity I can step in and say something, and some people might hear us out when it comes to the childcare sector. But
Wow.
it's tough.
Yeah, I appreciate your story, and these are the things that we want to hear about. We want to hear about people in Niagara and what sort of situations they're in. I mean, you're running a business. You've been doing it, what you say, 7 years, 7 years?
Oh, and it's my 7th, yeah.
This is your 7th year. Yeah, a husband with multiple sclerosis, which obviously he also needs attention and care. And wow, the pressures and strains and stresses that are on people today, I can only imagine. And kudos for you for holding it together. I really appreciate hearing your story today. Good luck with everything.
Thank you.
Yeah, great.
Thank you.
Bye.
All the best.
All the
Bye
best
now.
to you too. Bye. What stories can you share with us, or stories about people that you know who should have their stories told? You can be here. All you have to do is click on the link at the bottom of the feed, and it'll put you into our green room, Zoom room, and Kevin will make sure that you join us on the program. Now, we are, unfortunately, sorry, Rachel, we have kept you waiting. Amish1 Sheds, a company that operates out of Ridgeway here in Niagara, and the subject of one of the most sort of sensational thievery type stories that we have heard about in Niagara. This was on Niagara 411. A shed similar to this was stolen from the Montrose Road / Bigger Street area in Niagara Falls, and it wasn't already on a trailer. It was on the ground, from what I understand. So somebody would have needed a truck and a trailer and all kinds of equipment to get it on there, and stole this thing. And Rachel, it's a family business, Amish1 Sheds. Rachel, a member of that family, and she agreed to join us to talk a little bit about this. Hi, Rachel. How you doing?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Great. Thanks for waiting for us. Sorry to keep you in the background there for a while.
That's okay. Thank you for having us.
Okay.
Lee, before you jump too far into it, this is Nitpicky Producer. Can you turn your phone the other way, Rachel?
Yeah.
Totally.
I know I'm risking this doing this live on the air.
Oh, yeah, sideways.
Oh, this way.
There
You
we
mean
go.
this way?
Cool. Absolutely.
Oh, there we go.
There you are.
All right.
The magic of technology.
There we go.
Yeah. Okay. So, Rachel, first of all, tell us about your family's business, Amish1 Sheds, located in Ridgeway, right?
Yes, the home base is in Ridgeway. We don't have an actual office, but if anybody does want to see a shed, they can definitely contact us through the website, and then we'll meet them at one of the sheds to show them.
Okay.
That's Amish1.ca is the website. My stepfather, Doug, started this company. An Amish family in New York builds all the sheds. So, of course, that puts some difficulties on the business itself because, of course, they have no phones and no technology. So once the order is placed, we have to go over to visit the family, place the orders, and then we go back in a few weeks and pick up sheds.
So can you do this with the COVID restrictions in place?
Yes, businesses are allowed to cross the border, but right now any orders that are coming in are would not be delivered till spring.
So your stepfather, Doug, and along with Wanda, is that correct?
Yes, and my mom.
Well, that's your mom, yeah. So, so they're basically the Canadian distributors for this Amish shed operation.
Pretty much, yes.
Yeah. How did he start this thing?
I'm not really sure. I know he's sort of very into woodworking and loves these sheds. He's very passionate about the way they were built and the quality that's involved in them. So it's just, he's very, very in love with his sheds.
Well, I might be talking to him because my wife and I have been talking about one of our projects for spring is getting a new shed. So I'll probably be talking to Doug.
That'd be great. That'd be great. They're all custom made. Like I wanted to be in the backyard near my shed, but unfortunately my Wi-Fi didn't reach there. The technology, right? They're all custom built. So the roof on my shed, the tin roof, matches my house. So everything, it's the same color as the roof on my house.
All right.
So everything's custom made for you.
That's great. All right, now let's get to the story that initiated this conversation in the beginning. It showed up on Niagara 411, and somebody or some buddies stole one of these things. So tell us this story, Rachel.
So one of our sheds had been parked there. There was a light show planned, and one of our sheds was to be used for storage of equipment and stuff for the light show that was to happen at the Hungarian Hall there.
Right.
And so the last time we saw it was January 2nd.
Okay.
So my parents had gone just to drop another shed off there, and at that point noticed it's missing. So my mom, of course, contacted me asking if I could post to Niagara 411. She's like, to try and get the word out that this shed had been missing. So the last time, and unfortunately the Hungarian Hall has no cameras, so we can't see who did it. But whoever did it would have taken at least two people, jacks, metal rods, like metal poles to roll the shed on, a flatbed, and a truck.
Wow. So this was an operation that obviously took some planning and preparation.
Yes, absolutely, 100%.
You don't just show up and smash and grab a shed.
No, and they're made of 100% hemlock, so they're so heavy. Like my shed took about 4 guys to get my shed placed.
So I was trying to think about whom would be the prime suspects of this sort of thing. In my mind, I have a feeling that they're not going to try to resell this thing. It's somebody that wanted their own shed.
Oh, yeah. It's in somebody's backyard, for sure.
It's in somebody's backyard right now.
Yeah.
So now, did you go up about reporting this to the police?
It has been reported to the police, and a reward is offered. Now, we know it's a $500 reward that's been offered for return of the shed. Now, I understand that the sheds are worth way more than that, which somebody commented. Yes, they are. We're hoping that $500 is maybe enough for a very honest person to tell us that there's a new shed in their neighbor's yard.
Yeah, somebody has to notice. First of all, what size was this shed? How big was it?
I believe it was a 10 by 20.
All right.
So 120 square feet.
That's huge.
That's a
it's
a big shed.
It's huge. It's huge. Like
that's an oversized load type shed.
Yes, it was an oversized load. Yes.
Okay. Okay. So
yes.
Now, what would the retail value of that shed be worth?
Well, the sheds are $39 a square foot.
So
plus,
10 by 20, we got 200 square feet, right?
Yeah. So, and then you're looking at
7, 8
extra
grand,
for the
is that-
windows and doors. So yeah,
So you're talking about $10,000 all in.
$10,000. Yeah.
Holy cow! So
Yeah,
we're
it's
talking about grand theft here. That's a big theft.
Yes.
That's jail. That's jail time type theft.
Yes.
Have you
Yes, for sure.
has your family or this business ever experienced anything like this before?
No, nothing.
Isn't that
The worst that's ever happened is maybe like we've gotten a vandalized shed or a tag put on a shed or something.
Yeah, or a broken window
you
or
can
whatever.
Stand it off, right?
Yeah.
Hey, Rachel, let me hop in here. What do one of these things weigh?
Oh my God, they're solid hemlock. They're so heavy.
I mean, do you even?
I don't even know. I can't even describe it. Like, even just to pick up the step that goes in front of it takes a jack, right? Like, these are, you have to jack it up and then roll it on pipes. You couldn't possibly lift it.
Oh wow! I mean, you and your family must have been flabbergasted by this. So
Yeah.
did
at first I was like, did he move it and forget? That was my first thought. Was that they may have moved it somewhere and forgot they moved it.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, are you sure we didn't take it somewhere? Yeah.
Yeah, that was my first initial reaction was are you sure that we didn't move it somewhere and forget?
All right. Now, let me ask you something that's probably really uncomfortable.
Sure.
Could it be someone that you know or works for you that moves these things or whatever? Like, I guess I'm saying, to use the TV vernacular, could it be an inside job? Have you ever thought of that?
Yeah. I think it's all family.
Yeah.
Like, there's nowhere they could have put it that we wouldn't know it was there.
Okay.
There's only 3 households that have anything to do with us, and we would know. We all have our sheds already.
Yeah. Okay. And it's only family that does the work.
Yes, it's only family that works there.
Wow. Now, do you get a sense that the police are actively investigating, or are they just waiting for leads and calls? And
I really don't know how much active investigation anybody can do right now with the restrictions.
yeah.
I mean, they didn't even come out to take a police report. That was all done over the phone.
Wow.
So
It's truly
I
amazing.
feel like the only hope is that somebody actually does, call in and say,
Yeah.
hey, that shed's in my neighbor's yard.
So your company, your family's company, was there goes an essential service right now. Our street sweepers are going.
Yeah, that's essential street sweeping.
There's our essential service street sweepers right there. At least we at least we have some St. Catharines city employees still employed, trying to clean the dust out of the gutters. That's good. So so Rachel, this shed that was on site to hold supplies for a light show, did you rent this to these people at a fee?
No, well, no, yes and no. It was sort of an exchange of services. We got listed on advertising on their website.
All right. What does your insurance supplier say to this? Like, you've got.
I'm not really sure. Like, that would be a question for my parents.
Okay.
I think we're hoping to get the shed back is the ultimate goal, but
Yeah. Wow.
I'm not really sure about how all of that sort of stuff would work.
The first thing I saw when I saw this story on Niagara 411 when Nick put it up and was, how the heck did this happen? And like Kevin, at first I thought it was already on a trailer or something and somebody just backed a truck up and drove off with it. But no, the shed was actually freestanding
Yes, it was.
out in the middle of nowhere. And somebody's going to make a movie about this, I think, somewhere down the road. So, I mean, it's one thing to break into the Bellagio, but I mean, stealing a shed in the middle of the night, that's cool. So,
my thought is that anybody who drove by and saw that would assume that these guys out there with all this equipment loading this shed we're supposed to be there
Well,
loading the
who would
Why
think
would
it?
anybody think to report that, right?
Exactly. Who would think that it wasn't legitimate?
Right.
So hiding in plain sight kind of deal.
Absolutely.
Isn't that crazy? So, okay, well, I hope you get your shed back, and we'll be following the story, because if you do, we're going to talk to you again, okay?
Yeah. We'd
All right.
love to come.
Yeah, it's just we got to bring this thing full circle at some point in time.
I'd love to. Rachel, before we bid you adieu, I know you guys are in Ridgeway, but you do have your Amish sheds kind of headquartered. Where have people seen them? Because I know the ones in Fawn Hill, those are yours.
They are, yes. The ones in Fawn Hill, it's sort of right beside the Salvation Army thrift store there. Those ones are ours, as well as there's a bunch on the Glendale Gateway, where the new Tim Hortons and stuff is.
Oh,
Is that yours? I saw that one, and I was actually going to drive up and have a closer look at it, but it's been there as like a promotional piece for a while. So that's one of yours.
Yes, that is one of ours.
All right, cool. Yeah, and
Yeah.
how big is that one? Do you know?
Oh, I'm really not sure which one's there. They do switch them out all the time.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Cool. Anyway, thanks for joining us, Rachel. Appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Well, Kevin, that's an amazing story, and once again, another Niagara business that a lot of people might not even know exist, made by genuine Amish craftsmen in New York State, and shipped to Canada and sold by brokers here. That is so cool.
Yeah, I honestly would have thought that they were made here in the tradition of Amish building.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah, I didn't think that they actually went to Amish communities of, I guess, upstate New York and paid them and supported their
Yeah.
community.
Now there is a neighbor of mine. I don't know them well, but they just live around the corner from me. And this was about 2 years ago, and I saw they have one of these sheds, and it looked to be maybe about that size, maybe a 10 by 20, maybe a little bigger, but it's a sizable shed. And I saw it being delivered, unloaded, and set up in this fellow's yard. And I got to tell you, it is a massive, massive undertaking. It took them all day to get this thing off the truck and set and balanced, and because of its heft. And as Rachel was saying, apparently now we know it's made out of hemlock, so it's very heavy, thick, sturdy wood. And there was a whole crew of guys unloading this thing, and like she said, jacks and rollers and all that stuff. My goodness, think about that. Somebody is very, very enterprising and has a lovely shed in their backyard. And if you have noticed somewhere around your neighborhood a brand new, beautiful Amish-style wooden shed having just shown up, it might embarrass your neighbors if they got it legitimately, and you might have a bit of a PR problem with them, but it might be worth letting folks know, hey, there's a new shed in the neighborhood.
Yeah, I'm ratting you out in the spring, Lee, when that new one pops up in your backyard.
Oh yeah, now I have to be careful, eh? Okay, yeah. We'll put a sign on it. We actually paid for this shed.
The Amish Shed Bandit, Lee Sterry. I had nothing to do with it.
Oh my goodness! All right, while we have a moment, I want to return to some important information on behalf of our sponsors. First of all, we appreciate Gales Gas Bars Limited fueling this program, and we kicked off right at the beginning of the year with a 6-month partnership with Gales. We appreciate that to know. And also WeeStreem Niagara, Kevin's company. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit. But a message on behalf of our title sponsor, Gales Gas, effective tomorrow, meaning today. This was put up yesterday on their Facebook page. There are some adjustments to their outlets, and if you want to have a look at the Facebook page just so that you are aware of the fact that there are some adjustments because of COVID. There are three here are the three main ones that will affect you. Are those that are absolutely closed until further notice: Drummond Road in the Falls, Bridge Street, Niagara Falls, and the third one there is a typo. It should be Ontario Street, St. Catharines. Okay?
So it's right by the old GM right there.
Yeah, right there, right there across from the plant, and then those other sites are self-explanatory for you. So those are some adjustments. All companies have had to adjust in some way, shape, or form to make their operations viable. And Gales is a local company, and always has been, and always will be, and all businesses, be they small, medium, or large, have to adjust in these situations, because think about it, in these days we're not. Now we have a stay-at-home order, of course, and that's got some people freaked out. Is not as many cars on the road, not as many miles or kilometers being driven, not as many liters of fuel being used. So everybody has to look at their business and do a little bit of navel gazing and say, hey, how are we going to make sure that we run a viable business for our employees and move through this? So that's the adjustment that Gales has made. And again, it's on their social media, it's on their Twitter, it's on their Facebook, etc. So you can do that. Now, Kevin, we talked about earlier your situation, and I mean, we're not. How can I say this? It's not a woe is me type stuff, but I talk to you so often about these things for a number of reasons. A, you have a young family, you have school-age children, you're an entrepreneurial business, which means that this isn't a very nice phrase, but in the sales business, we always used to say back in the day, you eat what you kill. You've got nobody paying you a salary just to show up in the morning. You got to work for it, which is what I mean. And these days, the pool is not as deep. The pool of opportunity is not as deep as it was. And the time to fish that pool of opportunity that does exist, excuse all these metaphors, is less. And WeeStreem is one of those companies that I predict, and you can tell us why I predict this, but I do predict that you will come out of this, I believe, with a deeper pool than you ever had before once things open up, because of the kind of service that you offer, which is, and here's where you fill in the blank.
We offer traditional live streaming. What I mean by that is cameras and boots on the ground where we broadcast your event, similar to what we're doing right now. Then, of course, we can do hybrid things where we have people in person, like Lee and I are here at Fiddler's Poorhouse in downtown St. Catharines, and we invite you. We invite people to join the program or join the broadcast virtually. We encourage you to do that. We are soliciting opinions, thoughts, feelings from people in Niagara about the stay-at-home order, about the lockdown, about the foreseeable future. Then we also do a lot of virtual meeting management. We can also add a production value to your Zoom meeting. If you're doing Zoom meetings, especially if you're doing Zoom meetings that are broadcast and there's an audience, we can kind of intercept your Zoom meeting, add a layer of production to it with graphics and some of the bells and whistles that you see in this production before your audience sees it. And also add a safeguard. As you know, if you've ever been in a Zoom meeting and people are watching, there are stumbles along the way. There are things that you don't really want your audience to see when there's technical difficulties within Zoom and somebody's having a hard time sharing their screen. We basically put up a layer of protection between your audience and you, so all of that can happen off screen. So if you have any questions, if you're involved in virtual meetings, or even if you think you want to move in that direction, please give me a call. Who calls anybody these days? Leave a message in the comments. Find us on Facebook. It's WeeStream, double E's on both We and Stream. So thank you very much for that, Lee.
Yeah, my pleasure. And the thing that is interesting to me is you have a lot of these expressions like if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. If you're questioning something, Ford said this the other day. If you're wondering if you should go out, don't. Like if there's any gray area, make it black or white, depending on which is the right thing to do. So where I'm going with this is with regard to the WeeStream thing. If you are wondering whether your business or your family or service club or any group that normally has an event that would be in real time, real face-to-face type contact, if you say to yourself, I wonder if we could stream this, I would venture to say the answer is yes.
Yep. And
there's always a way.
Get in contact with us. We work with community partners. We're not beyond volunteering our tech and our services. And we're not just out there to make money. I mean, we raise our kids right here in St. Catharines. We're a Niagara company that's doing big things. And just because you call me doesn't mean that I'm going to push you in the direction of profitability. It's not what we're about. If you don't need our services, I'll tell you, and I'll tell you how to get what you need to accomplish what it is that you're looking to.
Yeah.
It might just be, you know what? You need to buy a microphone and some lighting. And here, I'll send you some links. You can buy them off Amazon. They'll be at your door tomorrow.
And there are so many initiatives that have been put on pause because of this. In a lot of cases, because the people that are behind these initiatives aren't sure where to go. They're not sure how to do it any other way. They're sort of between a rock and a hard place. Like how can I do this when I can't do this? And Kevin is a great resource to help answer those questions. Whether WeeStream can help you directly or not, reach out and ask the questions and get the support, because we talked about earlier is the fact that one of the really horrible fallouts of this thing is people feel deserted and lost, and it's not healthy. So reach out and we'll do what we can for you. New cases on January the 13th, meaning yesterday, 190 in Niagara, a growth rate of 3%. New cases on Tuesday the 12th, 119, and then the growth rate on that day was 2.1%. And I remember, Kevin, when we were reporting numbers like 8 and 9.
Yeah. Pardon the French, but like, how the hell did we get here? Like, honestly, it can't just possibly be that we visited people over the holidays. That doesn't hold water for me, because we didn't see anybody that we don't normally see.
The medical professionals on the spread of viruses have been warning the planet for quite some time, since the first wave, that the second wave was coming and it would probably be worse. I just think that we all started to breathe a sense of relief and got too complacent with this, and most of us, the rank and file citizen, does not have any sort of concept of how viruses spread and multiply, and how these waves work and why. And I believe the health people have been trying to tell us, but it's not the fact that we don't listen. I think it's the fact that we don't understand, and we are human beings. You want to feel that you've maybe taken a step towards some sort of normalcy in your life, and that was not true at all. Now, with regard to Premier Ford's statement the other day about tightening restrictions, i.e. the stay-at-home orders, it seemed to me, although he said there was no confusion, I believe there was great confusion about what's going on. A stay-at-home order is a stay-at-home order. That part, if it's black and white, I get. Stay at home. If you're out in the street, it's sort of like, show me your papers, and go home. But we have the essential services. We've got the grocery stores, and we have the pharmacies and the medical supports, etc. And that's cool. Get that. Got it. And the other so-called essential services. However, all of the stores that are not essential services are allowed to be open, which makes my head hurt, because now I'm not sure what that means. You're only supposed to go out of the house for essential services if you absolutely positively have to. but the stores that are not dubbed essential services are still allowed to operate between 7 o'clock in the morning and 8 o'clock at night. Okay, so how does that compute? The other thing is this gathering of no more than 5 people in your circle, in your outside event or whatever. Okay, so I am in my car, and for some reason, or at random, a Niagara Regional Police officer stops me and says, "Where are you going?" Well, I'm going over to so-and-so's house because there's an event. Okay, well, you're supposed to be staying at home. Yeah, but there's only going to be 5 of us there. It's outside, or we're socially distanced or whatever, and the thing says no more than 5 people at an event. What do we do now? Oh, yeah, well, okay, I don't know. What do you think we should do? I don't know. Are you going to give me a ticket? I don't know. So I'm not criticizing what the government and health officials are doing, because it's a really difficult spot for them to be in. What I do say, though, is there is still confusion. I'm sorry, there is confusion. And you can go on to the Government of Ontario's website, and you can see the frequently asked questions and the answers to those questions. And I still haven't seen any that make sense to me, that really rationalize that for me. Now, one of the comments of a provincial official was that they left these windows of wiggle room, if you will, open because of the different sizes of different communities. That, for example, in an urban center like Toronto, and even cities not even that big, I mean Kitchener, Waterloo, even Niagara, Kingston, whatever. The more urban centers, there's a lot of shopping and delivery online available and those kinds of things, whereas if you're in a Timmins or Muskoka or Temiskaming or Petawawa or wherever those places are in more rural Ontario, they don't have the opportunity to shop and or be supplied at the same way that urban centers are, so they can gather or whatever. I don't know whether that's a good enough explanation or not. But are you confused by this? Do you think the province is doing an okay job? Niagara just started getting vaccines. It seems that Niagara has been, I don't know, way down the pecking order as far as receiving vaccines, and they're just starting to ramp up and get involved here. There was a letter, and that showed up on Niagara 411 as well, from Niagara Health to the province, expressing Niagara Health's displeasure with the lack of urgency with which vaccines were being distributed in Niagara, and frontline workers were concerned. It was a rather extensive open letter to the Government of Ontario from Niagara Health Services, and also there was a letter followed up to that from St. Catharines MPP Jenny Stevens that was expressing concern on the heels of that letter from Niagara Health expressing the same thing. So it's just sort of scrolling through now. That was the announcement that there's the letter from Jenny Stevens as a follow-up. That just went out on, what does it say, the 12th there, Kevin?
Yesterday, the 13th.
13th, yesterday. All right. And expressing her concern with the fact that we seem to be forgotten in this. They talk a lot about the GTA and the greater GTA, which includes Hamilton, Kitchener areas, and Windsor, that has really been able to step up their vaccination process there. And we seem to be, I'm not saying we seem, for some reason, to be lagging behind. And I don't know whether that will continue or not. You know, there was and I really don't want to politicize it, but I know there are those out there that are thinking it, and so I'm going to just throw it out there. Back in the day, of the Dalton McGuinty era, back in the Liberal leadership of the province, Fort Erie racetrack had all of its gaming ripped out, and there were those that believed that there was a political DNA involved because the area was represented by MPPs that were not in favor of the current government. They were not the same party. They were not the ruling party, et cetera. And it was a little bit of tit for tat stuff, the fact that there was some politicizing of it in some people's minds. I'm not alluding the fact that I think that or not, but that was something. And I wonder, since our MPPs, other than in Niagara West, in the Grimsby area, as we know, are NDP MPPs. I don't know. I would like to think that there is nonpartisan discussions going on, but I just wonder sometimes if some communities are less important than others.
I think it's a fair question, Lee, and I don't think you're the only one asking it.
That's why I threw it out there, and it makes me feel kind of slimy to even mention it, but it's something we...
no, because we're all supposed to be in this together.
Yeah, Wayne Gates, MPP for Niagara, Fort Erie, Niagara-on-the-Lake, Queenston area, Jenny Stevens, St. Catharines, both NDP representatives, and Andrea Horvath has been the most vocal opponent of what's happening.
And we've also got Jeff Birch, right, in the Welland riding.
Jeff Birch, yeah. So sorry, Jeff, I forgot about you.
No, but a lot of orange down here in Niagara.
We do. And I hope it's not a factor. I really do. And I wouldn't make that accusation. But as Kevin said, there are others asking that question and wondering. But
now, Lee, I do want to remind people that
I hate bringing that up.
The Zoom room is open, and it was great. We heard from Valerie, running a child care center in Beamsville. Jared, who's now having to work from home, but also manage online learning of his daughter Hannah, that's in kindergarten. Great to hear from those people. These are the real world stories that we want to have on this program. So if you're watching along, I know a lot of people are. Feel free just to click on that link, and don't be scared. Lee's a pro, man. He handles you very well in your situation, and we love to hear these human stories from real Niagarans about how you're feeling, how you're handling not just COVID-19, but first the bit of the lockdown for a month, and then they've stepped it up even more so with these stay-at-home orders and what is and what is not essential. But Lee, I do know that you wanted to get to some other stories, including a really nice good news story that was shared with Nick from Niagara 411 yesterday.
You read my mind. I just brought it up so that I could read this. Nick, by the way, thank you for, again, partnering with us here on Niagara 411 Live every week. This is Season 2, Episode 2. Always pleased to be able to work with you. And Nick put this up and said, a touching story, here's an email that I received. And the email went to Nick, and it says as follows. Today's my son's 4th birthday. We live in Niagara Falls, and this afternoon went to Sobeys on Portage Road to pick up and pay for the cake that we had ordered. It was a Ghostbusters cake. When my husband went to pick it up, he had been told that it had been paid for by an anonymous individual. He was told that she lost her child and that every year she comes in and pays for another child's birthday cake. We just want to say thank you. This was so kind, and we are truly touched. That could, if you read that a few times and think about that, especially if you think about your own kids, regardless of how old they are, it could bring a tear to your eye. What a wonderful, wonderful story, and how sad it must be for that person every year to remember the birthday of their child that passed, and then feel better by helping another child celebrate their birthday and the family. It's what a wonderful, sad and happy story all at the same time.
And you really hope, Lee, that stories like this get back to the anonymous donor.
Yeah.
There's a reason they stay anonymous, and I get it, and my heart goes out to people that do anonymous donations, but you hope they get the tail end of it, just to put a smile on their face, that know that it's well received and it has positively affected another family. That's why they do it.
It's such a no parent should ever have to experience the anguish of losing a child at any age for any reason. And I can only imagine with horror what that must be like. And for this person to step up and hopefully as almost self-medication, do something like that for another family is really outstanding. So if you are that person, we don't expect you to identify yourself, because that's not the point. Thank you for what you do, and our hearts go out to you as well.
And Lee, don't know if you wanted to go here, but another tragic event this week involving the loss of a life on the recreational canal in Welland.
We're going down this from a happy hole to a dark place.
Most of it, though, was unfolding on Niagara 411, and that's where people were getting the updates as firefighters were there trying to rescue. 2
divers in this is the canal, was it not?
Yeah, I say the canal, but it's the recreational canal.
The recreational canal, yeah. And of course, it's frozen over to some degree, and they got separated. Correct? As I understand it, they got separated. Kevin?
I think so, but I don't want to speculate. You know.
Yeah. And one of the scuba divers came to the surface, as I understand it, came to the surface successfully to hook up with his partner, who never arrived. And the rescue people located the person later, and unfortunately, they were deceased. So, it's
awful.
Just a sad tale of something that was supposed to be a fun time out. Now I have questions. Kevin reached out to a few people from the diving community.
Well, you saw there a note posted by Jennifer Bush, and I actually spoke at length yesterday with Jennifer, and unfortunately, just because of her work commitments, was unable to join us today on the program.
Okay.
She has no more insight into what happened in this particular case, noting that there are so many things that could go wrong when you're scuba diving under regular conditions, but did note that more risk factors are in play when you're doing so in cold water dives, but it's not unusual. It's not unusual to go. I mean, to most people, we're wondering, why are you diving in frozen waters? I mean, but I think that's unfair of us to say, especially in the wake of a tragedy like that.
Yeah, I mean, one would speculate that they had the proper gear and wear, like the suits and whatnot, that can guard against cold. My question was, I would love to have someone from the diving community on, because I just have questions. There's a certain amount of air, of course, that they have available to them, and I was wondering how one could get that disoriented with the amount of air that they have available to them, because the recreational canal is not that deep. I mean, it's not like ocean diving. And lose the amount of time required to find the way out.
Now, Lee, I know a lot of the first responders there were firefighters, and let's put more of a smile on our faces than what we currently have, because
yes.
The Welland Fire Department issued this video this week, and I know it caught your attention.
Oh, I love this. I wanted to do this off the top.
I'm just going to go ahead and press play, and you can kind of talk over it.
Oh, yeah, go. Every year, the fire departments try to get us to check our smoke alarms. Well, this is a very creative way to inspire that.
So they made note, Lee, that all the songs in this video are 10 years
10 years old. 2011, yeah.
And I guess that was the point, right? That at least once every 10 years, you've got to check your CO2 detectors, check everything, right?
Yeah.
And we don't know who this is. We don't know what firefighter. I know some people on the Welland Fire Force. I don't know this guy.
But he's great. I mean, you can tell he's having so much fun. And it was obviously his idea to do it, because nobody said, "Hey, why don't we do this? Who wants to step up?"
Or what bet did he lose, Lee?
Yeah, right.
No, all right, guys, somebody's got to do the video.
No, he's having a blast. You can tell he's having a good time. And these are the things.
All of these songs are from 2011.
Here's the message.
That means they're 10 years old. There's no expiration date on great music, but there is an expiration date on smoke alarms. Check the dates on your smoke alarms today and replace any that are 10 years old or older. Remember, only working smoke alarms can save lives. So replace any alarms in your home that are older than these songs are.
There it is. Michael Aitkins was his name. It was right there on the screen.
Yeah, I know. That's awesome. Kudos.
Congratulations to Welland Fire and Emergency Services for that creative way to remind us to check the batteries in our smoke alarms. That is absolutely spectacular. All right. A couple of other things I want to mention, but first, I told a story last week before we run out of time. I told a story. Sorry, my mom said it's not polite to point. I apologize for pointing. With everything that's been happening south of the 49th parallel in Washington, D.C., at the Capitol building, Trump impeached for yet a second time, and all that hoo-ha that's going on down there. I told a story last week about the fact that a number of years ago, as it turns out, when I did my research, it was 2014. My wife and I were in Washington, D.C., and we went through the Capitol building, and my wife was stopped going in to the tourist entrance, which is around sort of the side and the lower level of the Capitol building. She was stopped because she had a banana with her in a bag, and the security guard wouldn't let her in. And she said, "What am I supposed to do with it?" He said, "You got to put it in there," meaning the dumpster. So she was a little PO'd at that. Well, a lot PO'd at it, actually. And so when we came out, she tried to retrieve her banana. So I thought I would prove to you that this actually happened. And she's got this horrible grimace on her face. I mean, it's a dumpster, right? So, ew. But she's trying to... The banana was in a bag. I mean, it wasn't just separate. But obviously, one of the local D.C. colorful street people might have gotten to it before she did, because it wasn't in there. So that's outside the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. from 2014. Sorry, hon, I just had to do that.
So, Lee, correct me if I'm wrong, but the first time you decide to share an image of your wife on this program, and that's the one you choose?
Yeah, she's been a good... Hey, I've been in broadcasting for 45 years. She has dealt with a lot.
I'll tell you, better call those Amish Shed people and get one there tonight, because I think that's where you're sleeping.
Yeah, now, a couple of things before we go. Oh, who have we got? We have My Son the Hurricane playing us out today, don't we?
My Son the Hurricane, local Niagara band, Jacob Bergsma, friend of mine, friend of the program. Also, Dano, drummer extraordinaire, are 2/3, along with Sylvie, of the power that is My Son the Hurricane. They just released a brand new song and a video to go along with it called Parade. It's really cool. Because of COVID, they couldn't get together to shoot a traditional video. They teamed up with a digital arts company. The entire video is made to look like 2000 era video game. Like, think Grand Theft Auto.
Okay.
So that's coming up, where the characters are portrayed. You see Jacob, you see Sylvie. It's really cool. So we're going to share Parade, My Son the Hurricane, to bring us out of the show
Cool.
in about 5 or 6 minutes.
Very, very creative bunch. My Son the Hurricane with a cast of thousands. And Jacob Bergsma, haven't seen you in a long time, and your crew, so tip of the hat to you. We look forward to watching the video at the end of the program. Okay, Niagara Health Foundation. This is not going back to the letter. This is something else. Just wanted to let you know about this. Folks, we have received a few notices that there are people going door to door in the Niagara Falls area asking for donations for the hospital and children. We have been told that they have a Niagara Health lanyard and look fairly official. This is not actually happening. There is nothing sanctioned by Niagara Health like a door-to-door fundraising campaign. All right. So if somebody says they're from Niagara Health, doesn't matter how official they look or how many clipboards they're carrying, it's not real. They're trying to scam you. All right. So just be aware of that. And another story, Kevin, that we were talking about, which, and I know you even commented about this, I think, on Facebook, is a man was arrested this week after a fraud investigation in Niagara-on-the-Lake. There's the notice right there. In September of 2020, Niagara Falls uniform officers began an investigation into an allegation of fraud by an employee of Niagara-on-the-Lake Hydro. The investigation was assigned to et cetera, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, they determined that between March of 19 and July of 20, that this person embezzled $425,000. He was the VP of operations at the time of the offense. And that's his name, Kazi Maroof, 67 years old. He's from Fort Erie. Been charged with the offense of fraud over $5,000. That's well over $5,000. And the legal process has taken over, and they're going to go forward. Now, the thing that's interesting about this, though, is at the time of his arrest, Maroof had returned in excess, given back $400,000 of the $425,000 stolen to Niagara-on-the-Lake Hydro. Now, if you have any information, of course, call the police. But I find that a really intriguing story. It falls. We've all seen these movies about somebody that's in a situation or in a hard time or whatever, and sees a way to maybe get out of it by taking this now and to give it back later, and nobody would be any of the wiser. You know, that sort of that plot line that almost never works. And in this case, it might not have been that, but it just seems a little bit curious to me that someone commits fraud or embezzles or whatever, $425,000, and there's been $400,000 of it given back by the time he's arrested. Like,
yeah, I'm scratching my head on this one.
Yeah, there's something there. Doesn't really pass the smell test.
Usually, when you go down the road of embezzlement or fraud or whatever you want to call it, it's because you've got a serious debt to pay off, be it gambling or bad investments. You usually don't have 400 of it lying around to pay back. Moreover, why was there a period of time where this individual was allowed to pay back the money? That means that there had to have been some sort of HR meeting or something where they confronted the 67-year-old and said, "Hey, it's come to our attention. You've fraudulently taken $425,000 from the company." And does he say, "Oh, my bad. You know what? Let me go under the under the mattress at home. Yeah, I got all the money sitting right there. I'll bring it back tomorrow." Why was there a period of time between which obviously he was confronted and started to return the money and his arrest, but maybe not.
But maybe he wasn't confronted.
That's a good point.
You say obviously.
Maybe he wasn't.
It's not all that obvious. He may have just been doing this under the radar the whole time and slowly shoveling the money back into the system once he got past the.
Yeah, I don't.
Once he got past the hard part.
I don't know. I don't know. It just raised a lot of questions.
It's a fascinating story.
Kind of fascinating. Yeah, I want to hear the real story behind it, and of course, we likely never will.
No, I'd love to though. Somebody knows. Somebody knows.
Yeah, somebody knows.
Yeah. So we got a couple of minutes. Let me know when we need to go to my son, the hurricane, because there's other stuff to talk about.
Getting them loaded up, Lee. So go ahead.
All right. One of the things that shocked me this week. I don't shock too easily anymore. But one of the things that shocked me was the story that appeared this week about the YMCA of Niagara Falls closing, and here's the word that got me. Closing I can get. I mean, we got COVID. A lot of things closed. A lot of things stop operating. Public gatherings, gyms, etc. Of course. YMCA's, yeah, sure. Why not? Get it. But the story was closing permanently. Permanently is what it says. It's a very final word. It's a very permanent word. Permanently means forever. Now, this is a beautiful building in Niagara Falls. Absolutely beautiful building. And it just, what do you mean permanently? How can you mean permanently? But there's the announcement right there. Now, there are apparently plans to offer some of the programs that they have been offering in other locations, sort of piecemeal in different spots around Niagara Falls. They're not going to completely eliminate everything that the YMCA offered as programs, etc. But the building, now, the city of Niagara Falls, if I am not mistaken, owns a building. So maybe it was just a fact of them not being able to pay the rent, or anyway, it just disturbed me that something like a YMCA building put an announcement out in situations like this, which are so fluid and can change so fast once COVID is done, announces that they're closing permanently. If they say indefinitely or till further notice or to be announced at some point, I get it, but permanently is a very powerful word. I don't get it. And the other thing that was on people's minds this week is Thomas Stewart, the CEO of the Niagara hospitals, as well as the other hospital.
St. Joseph.
St. Joseph's, yeah, thank you. So it was a shared services deal, which makes sense. But it's still, now this is a guy that went with his family to the Dominican Republic. And it was approved by the board, we found out. His vacation, I don't know what the actual destination was, but the vacation period or whatever was approved by the board of directors of this organization, St. Joseph's, Niagara Health Services, et cetera, goes down to his home in, and I don't care if it's a private home, but anyway, in the Dominican Republic. So that doesn't mean that he is fired with cause. Anytime that in a contractual agreement, especially with executives, if someone is let go or fired, dismissed with cause, that eliminates any sort of severances or agreement of separation dollars, etc., because it means that you've done something very egregious to break the terms of your agreement with that organization, and you walk away with nada. However, that's a very, very difficult thing to identify. Having managed many organizations, to dismiss someone with cause is very, very difficult. So otherwise, there are separation terms in that contract, including severances and notices, etc., and there are dollars attached. In this case, it was a 24-month equivalent of his annual salary, which comes out to almost $1 million when you include taxable benefits. So this fellow earned $1 million by going on vacation. I want that deal. So how could it not be cause? You're a doctor. You are a health official. You manage hospitals. You have been managing hospitals through the COVID thing since March of this year, and probably before that when you knew it was coming. But at the very latest, March of this year, and of all the positions to be in where somebody says you should know better, that's not for cause? I mean, I think that's just being fired for being stupid. But hey, hon, why don't we take the kids down to the Dominican for a week, and we'll come back and get $1 million. Hey, that sounds like a good idea, Tom. Let's go. Ha! Like, really? Really? Like Saturday Night Live. Really?
Should we get the expensive champagne? Sure.
Yeah, yeah. How about a bottle of Cristal with that? I think that's a clause in the contract, too. Man. The world is spinning out of control. Okay.
Good show, Lee. Another good show.
Yeah, it was a good show. We really appreciate the people that decided to take some of the time out of their day and join us to tell us their stories on the program. Keep in mind that we love you to do that at any time. And Rachel from Amish1 Sheds, thank you. It was a fun interview in spite of the fact that it's a kind of a crappy situation for your company. It's just one of those strange stories that we didn't expect to ever see, but we'll stay in touch with you there. Gales Gas Bars Limited, thank you for fueling the program as always. Check them out on their website and find out their new hours and location operations through COVID. Nick at Niagara 411, thank you. And also WeeStreem, Kevin, always a pleasure working with you. And we will see you for episode 3 of season 2 a week from today at noon. My son, the Hurricane, is going to play us off the stage. Cheers.